Good morning, everybody. All right. So, depending on where we look, some things are setting up potentially perfectly, and other things are breaking down. It's kind of a strange situation, but markets do some strange things sometimes. So, um, the theme was, can the markets create support? So I thought it was the way things are set up here, an opportunity to just show a lesson as to just that. Can it create support? Because they're subjective reference points and they're what I would call real reference points. And this is a good example of what's subjective, meaning what we would call, well, beyond what's directly to the left, because there's a void here. And it does come into play, so it's not something to ignore. For example, like this here, this was what would minor support the high prior to, taking it out. And so here's the next little level there. And I guess if you were to draw your fib lines or whatever, it would line up in this area. So you've got a different methods looking at a certain area um, for where buyers would show up. And so you got the 20 MA here on the futures, which in my opinion, you got to look at SPX or SPY because any leveraged instrument usually isn't a good reference point. It's better to look at the SPX or SPY or the Qs or whatever, and rather than the futures. Anyway, futures traders would be looking at that. So there's a lot of subjective things that depending on the instrument and who's trading it, whether they're going to be looking at that or not. But when you've got support and resistance like this low down here, and it doesn't matter what you're looking at, whether it's the futures or SPX or gold or whatever. Everybody's going to be looking at the same thing. And that's what's going to be the most powerful reference points when you've got a unified view as to what support and resistance is. So see the S&Ps are down here. They're stabilized this morning, came down here, and now we're getting a bit of a retest. So this is the idea of creating support when it creates a pivot low. And it comes down here, and as we define it, three higher low bars to the left and right. And almost any of the programs today have this. Many years ago, it was something in e-signal anyway that had to pay a programmer to do. Today, things have, where they call them fractals, but so many platforms now have it, and you just set it to three, and anybody can look at this. So S&P is coming down here into an area of supporter where everybody's going to be focused to see if it can make a turn somewhere in here. And it's in an uptrend, rising 20, rising 50. Weekly is in an uptrend, coming down to support. Buyers should be willing to attempt to make a turn in this area. And it's like every day, no matter what we're looking at, we look at the trend, support, resistance. Is it a setup right now? Is it in development of becoming a setup? So I would call this as in development of becoming a setup. Got extended, it's pulling back, came down real hard on Friday. Other things gap down, futures market here, almost 24 hours. So this is where it should attempt to make a turn. So now, from a swing trading perspective, we have to wait in this time frame to see if things begin to set up and we can get a green bar here. If it dips down, ideally a bottoming tail bar, because a narrow range bar, if it does end up with a narrow range bar today, that's typically not a good setup as far as the probability of not getting wiggled out if you put the stop too tight. Whereas if you get, let's just say here, looking at this 5-minute chart, you've got this sharp dip down. It came right back up again. And so on the 5-minute, we could be getting a downside shakeout pattern. Whereas if it goes sideways here, and maybe it could advance a bit further. And then again, as an intraday trader, you look over here and say, well, where might it go? And you got these pivot highs up there. So we'll see how this shapes up today. Right now, as I said, it's kind of from a daily chart perspective, a wait and watch and see what's gonna transpire. NASDAQ, similar, not the same, but similar. but came down really hard. And no or not no, semiconductors are getting killed last week, and they broke down under support. We'll take a look at that. And this is coming down to an area where there's basically nothing to the left. And other markets are stabilizing, so this stabilizes. Same thing, dip down, sharp move back up. So we know that others are looking to buy dips here based on the uptrend. However it came down, however you're looking at this area here where the expectation is that it'll make a turn. And so we're doing the same to see if it makes a turn. Now, this came down, as I said, real hard. It came down vertically. The angle of retracement was bearish. And so ideally, I think, in my opinion, the ideal situation is we get some wiggles here. Maybe it dips down a little bit more. You don't have any substantial news until the latter part of this week. And so a little bit more correcting where we could build a base here, a little bit of a base on the 65-minute would be a much higher probability setup to get an advance from this area. When things come down this way, of course, it's going to create uncertainty. It went up, was bullish, shouldn't come down at such a sharp angle as this did. So as we always look around, seeing other markets. So here, the Dow futures came down to an area we call minor support. And this was resistance. It pulled back. It takes it out. It's beyond what's to the left. But you look here as an intraday trader, there's nothing here. So it created this pivot low, created new support. Other markets are, where I already explained, in those areas. This is still in a downtrend on this time frame. Resistance is right up here. So this is going to try and make a turn as well. Always look at these four. And here are the Russell futures coming down to this minor support level, rising 20 MA. And as you can see, there's nothing to the left there. So this is creating support in an area of a subjective reference point. Let's see if it could spend a couple of days here. Another dip, a bottoming tail bar, a little more backing and filling would increase the probability of not getting whipsawed. And from there, depending on what it does down here, we'll see, make some other assessments as to whether we believe it can take out this high or at least attack it. Gold, we reviewed this last week, looking for it to make a turn in this area. And it is. It's moving up. It came down real hard, broke the uptrend, came down through the moving averages. So we look at something like this. Common sense says it's unlikely that it's going back up to the high. And so for the moment, we see this is approaching this resistance area, and it's likely to stall there. So where we believed it would make the turn, it did. And the slide was there. And I covered in the letters this weekend, it's all about the dollar. So many things. Those of you that get the advisory letter, I spoke about the dollar here. And not that I thought it was going to go up at that time, but it's like, why isn't it continuing to go down? Because short-term interest rates were still going lower. And usually this would go lower as like the 13-week interest rates would go lower, and it didn't. So sometimes you look at things and it's like, this just doesn't make sense. I'm not sure. I wasn't sure. What does that mean at that moment? And so it was, as things come out about the election and renewed maybe thoughts of inflation, interest rates started to go up, and the dollar made this big advance. And so here in October, so many things that look great came down real hard. And so the dollar going up affects commodities. They came down, materials, and so on. as well as you had the combination of the dollar and interest rates moving up at the same time. So pretty powerful influence. And now they're at resistance. So looking for some of these things that gotten beat up because of the influence of the dollar and interest rates, this at resistance, this week we have to watch this to see if it maybe starts to pull back, which would put a little fire probably under some of those buy setups. Like we see gold is already beginning to stabilize. So the more this comes down and the dollar comes down, there'll be opportunities in things that have gotten beat up pretty good. All right. Bitcoin, we all know, has been on fire. It's taken a little rest here, forming a bit of a trading range. So now, does it dip down or does it go sideways in this trading range and then make the next move higher, possibly toward 100,000? So, kind of waiting to see what that'll do. Crude oil, kind of on the edge of the cliff here. And you see the monthly chart down here in the lower left is just hanging here. And it got rejected when it tried to move up the last time. And so I've got alerts down here to see if this actually starts to break down or whether it can start to move up from here. So waiting to see what that does. I drew out this here last week, this head and shoulders top. Here's your neckline, and set the alerts, see what it does. A lot of the ETFs, depending on which ones you look at, like this one here, looks like pretty darn good, like it can go higher. Look at the big bottom, and it took out these highs. But if you look at OIH, I don't have it here, but if you want to look at it, OIH or XES, they don't look so healthy. And so the question is whether oil can bottom out there and move up and help drag, especially this one here, which is the best looking one, that it could move higher. Yeah, so with the dollar up at that resistance, those of you that may trade currencies, keep an eye on the euro. So if the dollar starts pulling back, you can get a little bounce in this. So far, it's just a trading range back and forth here. But this is extended. It's stabilizing. And this is what I was talking about earlier with the broader markets, whether they could have like 3 days like this. So if we were to see the spiders, Qs, whatever, have like 3 days in stabilization, which builds a base intraday. And then as it starts to move up, you've got a greater probability of taking out the next resistance area because it's built this larger base. And in this case, it's just extended to the downside. Let's look at the semiconductors here. That's had a really negative influence, of course, on the NASDAQ, and NVIDIA was down this morning. It's to be interesting to see if it stabilizes because that's in a buy area too. But you can see semiconductors, breaking down under this pivot low. They look like, let's see where they're at here. Kind of down a little bit, but you can see that pivot low over there to the left. But it's a chart like this, you suspect it would tag the 200. We'll see if it does or not. It's down several days in a row, so these may make a turn, especially if those interest rates start coming lower. And you see the weekly chart doesn't look too bullish, does it? Even though it had a nice move up, that 2-bar reversal is pretty nasty. I sure will, Don. I always do. It wants me to look at SPY and SPX. So let's do that. And I'll just check the numbers from what they were this morning. So SPY, you got an unfilled gap here. You've got this little support. And so it never dipped down all the way down there this morning. It was trading inside of yesterday's range. You can see the cursor on the 65-minute there. I was trying to hold that area. So again, looking for this to make a turn in the next several days. If it can do that, It gapped down. It just came down in a pretty nasty way. So it's going to take a little time to build that little support area where buyers will come in with a little more confidence because after getting their butts kicked on Friday, it just makes sense that they're going to be a little apprehensive about stepping in front here. But this is where they should begin to accumulate. SPX, we've got these unfilled gaps above and below. Just check these strikes for today. Oh, that is a significant change. 58. Well, the market was heading down when I was looking at it, and it bounced up. So in a support area, I got to go back and look at SPY for a second here. 59.25. Well, that went up a little bit. What it always is going to do as you get a bounce. So you got to watch these. I mean, these are starting points. They're not. But look, the bottom line is, if you just did this mindlessly each day, it works out. And I moved out of the way, but I'll put it back. I think it was 15. Yeah, it's 15. So you can see that 15. Support area, resistance area. It was trading right here, basically in the middle, and we'll see which way this goes. Can stabilize what I just said about the other markets. It's in an uptrend. A couple of weeks ago when this first went up, I said this gap shouldn't get filled because it was an igniting gap. I still believe that, but it's less of a certainty at this point, the way it came down on Friday. But somewhere in here is where buyers should be willing to step up and make a turn. I'm going to hand this to Dan in a second. Transport still look great. So that's a huge positive. Financials still look the best. They're holding up. They're a little extended, but holding up in there. And even the regionals look good. So a little bit of a wait and see as far as the swings goes for things to set up that should happen in the next few days. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. Everyone had a great weekend. And yeah, based on this retracement, buy setup, etc., we have more long ideas than shorts, but they got a trigger as always. And we'll do what we do every day. I'll look at my alarms first. There's not many earnings, big interest list, YouTube questions. Oh, I know we got a bunch of new trials, so welcome new people. Feel free to just type here in the chat any questions you have. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, Raul loves buy setups. So yeah, that's going on the list. So a buy setup is what? We can teach 8-year-old little Johnny. It's in an uptrend, rising 20, rising 50, retracement from a V top, controlled, turn on minor support. There you go. There's your turn. There's the 20. You got a range expansion bar reversal. Yeah, Raul looks great. Let me put that in a window. Yeah, good point. Good point. Yep, I see my 15 a little spotty, and that's a volume issue. And also, I was going to check earnings real quick. Earnings 312, which is fine. So yeah, other than volume, but I'll watch it anyway. All right, alarms going off here. Actually, Greg just concluded with IYT, and my IYT alarm just went off. We're actually in it. in the ETF litter. PPL alarm, 180 closing breakout. This thing's in my way. This 15. This zone gets in my way. I can't see my 15-minute chart here. All right, that's a little better. All right, alarm went off, but it looks like it retraced here. But I don't trade in the first 5 minutes as a general rule. As a second general rule on Mondays, I kind of like waiting 10 minutes. It's just there's a little more whipping around from weekend orders. So this would be a good, I'd say 10-minute, wait 10 minutes and then buy over the high on VST. This one I gave as either a naked put or a put spread. It's not a good buy setup because compare it to this LMB that had a nice fluid bar down. Instead, I call this kind of a bull rectangle consolidation. Here's a flagpole from here to here. Draw a rectangle around here. So over, I think, whenever the two bars are so close, I go for the bigger one. So over Thursday's high, I like that as like I said, either naked put or put spread. I forget which. IP, it's a buy setup, but this is a 3-bar turn. And I like the fact that it gapped down on Friday and closed with an engulfing range expansion bar. So that's, and it's this is what we call an end of day rally. It rallied since noon for 4 hours. So ideally, we get a controlled pullback and reversal right around 57. So actually, let me put IP down here, bottom right. T alarm went off. This one looks great. That's wide range closing breakout. The only thing that would make this better is if we had an inside bar in the upper third and we buy it tomorrow as a 1, 2, 3. But that looks great. And then finally, UPS alarm went off. I don't know why it went off. Yeah, we're going to do a put spread over the high and it's gapping down. Actually, I'm looking up at my sectors and the transports are gapping down. I see one print down about $1.80. So I'm sure part of that is UPS here. So let me set new alarms. Now, if this takes out, I'm going to set an alarm at 132, because if it goes under that, then I'm going to cancel the put spread. All right, those are all my pre-market alarms going off. A couple of earnings here, not many. Let me get them out of the way. Now, twist. Wide range bar, a major support. Gap's too big though. If this were gapping up over Friday's bar, then it would be a great day trade. Target maybe 42, but the gap's too big. This one's just slopping around garbage. Colurb. I don't like the overlapping bars. TBT, that was obviously a typo. TBT did not have earnings. Brick 7650. There's no void. It's gapping right to resistance. So there's no earnings of interest. Nike here. Greg did a video chart of the week about bearish time frames, daily, weekly, monthly. John KMX. I don't see any prints. I'm not sure what pattern you're thinking, on what time frame. It's broke out and pulled back, so I just don't see anything right now. Save filed bankruptcy. let me ask you a question. If this thing's filing bankruptcy, why is it trading at $1.02 when I think they came out and already said we expect to wipe out all equity holders, which are shareholders, which means your common stock goes to zero. Well, I saw it trading pre-market, Patrick, and you know how you answer that as you look at a level one. Um, but like you said, if it's halted, now I'm showing 19,000 volume pre-market. 111 to 125 is bid ask. Um, so what I'm getting at is there's only one reason on earth it's trading for $1 and not zero. It's because equity holders think there's still $1 worth of value there for some reason, whether um, post Chapter 11 reorganization or maybe a hedge fund gives them a life, whatever. But the market is um, giving them $1 valuation. But I don't trade things like that. Mara, a sloppy buy setup. It was a put spread idea. We also have Riot as this one, the A/B test, I call it. I like this one better. So over Friday's high, I gave this as a put spread idea. Hood, big old flagpole here and just chopping around. It's really not a rectangle or triangle or flag, but it's just it's holding the gap up. So that's still bullish. I just had a Estee Lauder alarm go off. I had it at 65 here, potential bottoming pattern. 4 is being added to the S&P 100. Nike alarm just went off. Let's put that in this chart right here. Oh, look at that. One dive right there and set the alarm off. JCI, I think, um, Alex, this was a day trade idea for you. You mentioned. Let's say this is an end of day base. So this is a superior chart to day trade short than a big old end of day decline. So that 5-minute low I like as a day trade short. PPL alarm. All right, PPL. I think I gave over closing price. I'm going to change it to Friday's high, 33.75 PPL. Telegram out. New alarm. IP alarm. All right, so that triggered. I personally, because it's just my rule, I don't trade in the first 5 minutes, but it did trigger cleanly. Square up alarm. That was a naked put idea. General Motors low alarm. possible day trade short. I checked it as a call spread. There was no juice. Where General Motors, also end of day base. So this would be this. I think this is a go. Shorting Friday's low is a day trade. Um, all right, that's Nike, Greg. Let's see about puts. For this Friday. They're too spready. Wow, 50 cent, 40 something cent spread. All right, let's do a half lot and look to add on a bounce. AGC. Yeah, yeah, I like it. Did I give that? Um, no. Earnings 212, so we're good there.
What happened to your chart?
Now this piece of shit Zoom gets in my way because the toolbar up top, like trying to move it because it's in my damn way.
Hmm.
All right. Yeah, let's do be a riot up alarm. All right, let's just buy it now. You can do half if you want, buy on a pullback. It's not, I just looked. You know what? Let's do half and try to add a 1040. Ten 41. All right, riots. What's that? Right over 1240. So it did trigger, and then a 11 and a half, 10 put spread. 11 and a half. 10. Midpoint is 24. And I was wanting 30. So the question is, it's going to have to pull back to get filled. Comfy. Uh, yeah, this was in the weekend letter, Umphy. I'm a little behind on alerts, but yeah, that triggered cleanly. I got this one from McGraw actually over the weekend, and I said, yes, sirree, thank you. Look at daily, weekly, and monthly too. Sam giving me a few here, BFR. BFH. Sam, I just don't like all these overlapping bars over here. It'd be a put spread maybe. AHR is better. I think I set an alert on that one. And this one I'm not crazy about. It's down too much. So of those, I like AHR. Yeah, PPL. Yeah, PPL we're in. It just triggered. I behind on the spreadsheet, but I will get to it. So this triggered 33.76. Yeah, I changed it to November. Yeah, Travelers triggered. Yeah. And this was 261.14. Yeah, because Don, when you just pay a pennies for extrinsic value, I don't. There's no reason to go out to me, and you can just roll them if the thing is still acting well on Friday. All right, let me get a few of these updated. old post. Well, making it pretty, that is. Yeah, so 180, far from the 20. It was up on Friday. News it was being added to NASDAQ. AD line gapped up, holding at 580. Yields rising. Oh, the square. All right, square triggered. That's this was the trade. LMB looks good. Is that the one from Raul? Spider, I didn't see my order. Well, maybe it went off pre-market. But yeah, I'm focusing on all alarms, all new trades, open trades. Monday mornings are my busiest. Did it get the premium though? I need Debbie every day. All right, this was the trade to do a 0 DTE. Let's see where the premium is. But wait, did it trigger? Five 86.30 opening price 586. Yeah, it did. It gapped up, and then within a penny, it triggered. Let's see what the premium is now, and then we got to decide if we want it or not. Because we the bulls should have advanced further right now. Let's see.
Why?
What?
Why do you think this should go up, Dan?
Well,
Just
because
because it
for
came down a lot?
no, because of the 15-minute chart. Yeah, no, so that's why I gave you're talking spiders?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I only gave it a zero DTE, Greg. I didn't trust it for more than zero. But it's the it's over this 15-minute pivot, you know, for a 1 day bounce, stabilization. But I don't think we're getting our credit here anyway. So that's what I'm saying. I'm about to cancel it. Yeah, and I purposely made it hard to achieve. So let's cancel it. So there's no fill yet, so I can cancel it. But if it now takes out the day's high, we're definitely not going to get any premium, because if there's no premium now, Curly ain't going to be there over the day's high.
If the Qs fill the gap here and the spiders hold up and take out the high, maybe you want to buy a call.
That's fine.
Or just buy the leverage spiders or the ETF because you got a bottoming tail bar now.
Sure.
So they're buying the dip. I don't think it's going to go up a lot, but for a scalper trade, the setup is there on the 5 minute.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's better than um all right, actually Wolf did not trigger. Um, so that one's still good to go over the high, a put spread.
For those on trial, if you're not familiar with Zoom, at the top of the application, it says Dan screen. And to say my screen, you can flip between the two. I don't know if you can see both at the same time. I've never even thought of trying that. Oh, Chow, change your drop down there where it says two, change it to everyone. Yours is on hosts and panelists. I don't know why it defaults to that. They were supposed to fix that like 100 years ago.
And this GDX also triggered. This was a put spread idea. Reversal and support. I mean, on the 200, but there's no way we're going to get filled with that gap. So GDX was 35, 33.
Nike and GM doing great. GM's coming into a little gap area.
Yep, yep. I gave 5 minute low look great, and the day base here void. Yep, yep. Nike, I got in the middle chart here, new low. Oh, I didn't post that one yet.
I was watching SMHs and SOXL. So I always watch the two if I want to trade XOXL. And usually they move together pretty much. It was interesting. SMH gap down and filled the gap to roll over, and SOXL was going up. I don't know if they have the same stocks. I guess not, but they usually move together. And now They've both broken down. I know it's leverage, Robert, but they usually move in the same direction. XDS. Okay. Yeah, I know XDS and SMH don't always move together. XSD, a little dyslexic there. Yeah, but I don't look at the XSD other than swing trades because it doesn't have the liquidity. But yeah, it did gap up this morning.
Intel, we have a put spread. It's whipping around. Let me go through opens now. I think I got all the alarms addressed. Intel put spread and Starbucks put spread. That's it on the weekly options trader. Advisory. Let's go through all these. Berkshire holding well. BTI, we have a put spread holding well. That's a 1, 2, 3 for tomorrow. And look at the 15-minute chart. That is a beautiful base. That could be a 30, you know what? 30-minute high. You can add or day trade.
I was just going to say that's probably not a setup based on multiple time frames that you're going to get a 1, 2, 3 because it was basing at the end of the day on the wide range bar. I mean, you
I
could. The market doesn't do anything, but it more likely it could just go up another day.
I fully understand every word you said. Does everybody else? All right, cool. All right, Greg, this was one that we held a third.
That was mentioned in Darren's over the weekend. I forget. I read some article and it was in there. I was like, oh, what'll this thing do?
Well, that's where I got it a week ago. Was a Barron's mention. They it's an energy stock, and they're kind of moving around with the big fangs demand for power with AI.
Yeah.
And you know me, I just look at the chart. I don't care about the story. And I'm like, they were talking bullish about it. That's a sell setup. So I didn't care. eBay, we're still in these long puts. We're about break even right here. Well, no, because we bought puts and we have a time decay with that. It needs to tank for us. Set new alarms. Yeah, he had a nice opening range with WRB there. So yeah, buyers stood up. LUV, we have a half lot, and this has been dead money. Lamar short stock 126.49. So we're up 11 cents is all. And so and I remember talking to Greg about it Friday. My break even alarm went off on this bounce, and I was saying, should we kill it? And STT were in a half lot. And those were all the carryovers. And then we added a bunch of new ones today, this morning. Let's see what else is in the hopper. Flex, they make the flex tape. But I made this one hard to trigger because I don't like this. These two inside bars here are bearish. So the entry is Thursday's high. Oh, T ripped. I thought I was caught up and I was wrong. Shoot, that was a gap and go, and it gapped over the entry. Shoot, so that one's not going to get filled because I gave a limit on the calls unless they do. I should have given the green light because that's a very nice close from consolidation. HPI, did that trigger? Yep, it did. But there, see, here's another example where I'm not in it because I don't trade the first 5 minutes, but that's my own personal rule. So see that gapped up, cleanly hit. This was long calls. I love long calls when you're just paying pennies and then you get the benefit of leverage and limited risk for almost free. Yeah, we got coaching tomorrow, by the way. And I put together a bunch of quizzes. It's 4:15, like always. Yeah, Greg and I kind of have a habit of Tuesdays, 4:15. No, I did not give these official, but remember some of these military um, consultants like LDOS, bunch of Climos last week. I just said, hey, these are Climo watches. So let me sit and learn LDOS about 162.20. And none of them had weekly options. There's like three of them I'm watching. Oh, I put it right here in the notes. That allergen alarm Bottoming pattern, halogen alarm. The other khaki, still a climb up, but let me set an alarm now. 472. And bah humbug. Now this one, if it can bounce back up and go sideways until after, until tomorrow at 3 p.m., then we will have a fantastic inverse head and shoulder on the 15. I'm going to set an alarm at 150 on bah. Yeah, market perking here. It's after 10 a.m. Yeah, Q's spiders. I like the 15-minute charts. So like Greg said, there could be long ideas for day trades. 10 up alarm. It's sloppy, but it's a buy setup kind of within a big old bull rectangle. So 10 is not bad. I'll watch it until the close. Yeah, look this. Oh man, I didn't do this one official. It's not too late actually. Just need a big stop, but it had light volume. But that's a nice buy setup. Raul on YouTube found it. Yeah. So yeah, 30-minute high. This is kind of working out perfect for the scalp situation. At VST, I actually did have a put spread 135, 130. 35. 62 now. That ain't bad. Let's uh yeah, let's this one's a go. And bonds still being steadily sold. Wow, they whatever they said, maybe well, I guess pick the military. Well, yeah, I don't know how much was the military guy, Pete Buttigieg, or cutting expenses. That those military contractors got waxed.
Joe, if you're considering a day trade, as long as you have a plan as to what you're doing, that's fine. But to hold that overnight wouldn't make a lot of sense, seeing it's in an uptrend and strong.
And bullish 15-minute chart also. It's a pseudo 1, 2, 3 right there with this bottoming tail. Not not filling the gap. That's strong as can be.
So you have to define rejected. And I would define it as breaking below the opening price, which it held on a pullback. You can look at my 5 minute chart. So if it broke below that, you'd have a situation where it could retrace a little bit, maybe fill the gap. It could turn into a down day, but you know, when you say something like rejected, you have to define what that is.
Do you want Sam to give an example of Rick's?
Well, that would mean trying to buy a female a drink and getting thrown in his face, maybe.
Exactly. Getting kicked out for something lewd and lascivious behavior.
Sam, why is he like picking on you, man?
Yeah, Sam, why? Because he's a sport as well. This little wolf moving up, animal sector. That's a room. Any dog. Remember this URA we were watching from Friday? Didn't trigger, big old top and tail, but well, kept it on my list here. Let's see how it closes. Yeah, for a bounce, big old void. Yeah, I don't know where your stop is. Yeah, well, got a little 1, 2, 3 there on the 5 minute. So it just depends how tight you want it. Now, so